Still here, unfortunately.
Oh, man. It's episode 22.
We're here, still.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Or fortunately for your ears.
Yeah, fortunately, it depends on, if you left us a 1-star or 5-star.
Yeah. I guess that's one way of looking at it.
I think if it's unfortunate, you wouldn't be listening. So it's fortunate. Fortunately,
Yeah.
we're still here.
And it's fortunate for us, Andrew, because we get to talk to each other, and that's always good.
Well, that's the whole reason we're doing this. This is a podcast called We Were Gamers, JJ. What's this thing about?
It's about you and me talking to each other for various and sundry reasons, which sometimes relate to our hobby, which used to be playing video games, but still is sometimes, and other times just has nothing to do with anything at all.
Yeah, pretty much. Last episode, we tried to, lead in with a more professional beginning where we got right into news and tactics about being professional podcasts, and it was very jarring, and I think we should just shoot the breeze more often.
Because you like shooting the breeze? I mean, that's good. Yeah, it's always good to talk to people.
How was your weekend, JJ?
My weekend was pretty good. I was a little bummed that I missed out on a celebration of a certain someone.
Yeah, this is the birthday cast.
That's right.
It is my actual birthday.
The actual day of your Enoldening-ingness.
The Enoldening number 1.
That's right. And so today is your actual birthday? Like, what do you know? What time?
I believe it was 10 this morning.
Okay, all right. So you are officially already older.
Yes, I have hit 3 decades on this planet.
Well done. As a person who has been here just slightly longer than you, it's like the same.
You know what? I've got an amazingly successful podcast to show for it.
That's true. And some pretty good friends. And as far as I know, a beautiful and lovely wife and daughter. So
all those things. The party was fun. A lot of friends. A lot of more people showed up than I thought.
Oh, that's great. Anything awesome come out of it that I should know about?
It was a good time, and that I can't eat sugar like I used to. Literally every single gift thing that somebody decided to do was like sugar related. So there were cookies and there were cupcakes and there were cupcakes and there were more cupcakes. And I didn't eat much because I was talking to a lot of people, and I drank some beers, and I ate a lot of cupcakes and cookies because they were easy to walk around and talk to everybody. And man, did I pound Tums the rest of the evening.
Ooh, yeah. You know, I feel bad sometimes if I just go and eat, like, if I just, like, let myself feel like trash for a day and eat, like, 5 slices of pizza, which is a thing I could have done frequently in college, that if I did that now, not only do I feel like trash because I just ate 5 slices of pizza, it gets you back. Man, the rest of that day, you're just going to be completely useless.
Oh no. Scatcast.
Yeah. And not just that, but like you get like, the I don't know, acid reflux is the wrong word, but like, you just feel like horrible all day and your stomach is all out of sorts, and then I mean, the bathroom part of it isn't great either. Yeah, it's maybe if you only eat like 2 slices of pizza, it's not so bad.
I should have cut this off long ago.
Just saying 2 slices is a lot of pizza,
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Well, when you hit 3 decades, it's time to start eating some salad, is our point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Well, I had a fun time, and I'm sad you weren't able to make it, but it was a good weekend, good party, good birthday.
Yeah,
all things were good. So what did you end up doing?
So I was invited to another party down here from another friend of ours down here in San Diego, and he was having a whiskey tasting slash Sri Lankan food tasting party. He is from Sri Lanka, so he drove. I guess he drove to Orange County and back to get Sri Lankan food because there's nowhere else.
Oh, you could have volunteered to go get it for him and dropped in on us.
Man, I know. I didn't know he was doing that until I arrived at the party, and he wasn't there because he was late.
Wow.
He was running in traffic, I guess. So his fiance let us in and stuff. But yeah, so that was really interesting. I've never had Sri Lankan food before. I don't know if you have.
No, I would make the assumption that it shares similarities to mainland Indian, but I also know that it is quite different culture, so
Yes.
give me the scoop.
You would be correct in assuming that it shares things with mainland Indian food. There is, we had a curried chicken, which is very similar in a lot of respects to like chicken vindaloo, but not spicy. For people who've had that Indian dish, it's just like chicken in like a curry sauce and stuff. Runnier rather than creamier. They had these little, I don't know how to describe them other than noodle pancakes, which were, the noodle thickness was very thin, and they looked like they were like coaster sized, and they were just like someone took a bunch of noodles, almost like silly string, and just went like up and down, left and right, and made like a little crosshatch pattern.
Uh-huh.
And they come out in these sort of like, coaster sized little pancakes.
So like a funnel cake.
Yes, except that this is like, I don't know what type of noodles it is. I assume it's rice.
Okay.
And they're meant to be like the starch in the meal. So like they don't have rice, they have these noodles.
Gotcha.
So you put down like a bed of these noodles on your plate and then the chicken on top. And I guess the other thing that's really good is that the spice isn't in the chicken, but they have this coconut, this spicy shredded coconut. It's not powder, but it's like really finely shredded coconut, so it's almost powder-like. And you just sprinkle that all over everything to taste, essentially. And that stuff, holy smokes, that stuff is hot.
Like ghost chili hot?
Not quite ghost chili hot, but you take a bite, like a few little like pieces of it on your fork and bite it, and you're like, oh, okay, this isn't that bad. And you sprinkle it all over your stuff, and you take a big bite, and then you're like, oh no, okay, I was wrong. Big mistakes have been made. I want just a little bit on each piece, not like going crazy.
I still to this day will, and I think we'll always remember our experiment trying to eat ghost chili wings.
Yeah, that was hot.
Oh man, I regretted it before, during, and after.
Did you end up with the ghost chili? Or did we do the deer hunter thing?
Remember, we just had ghost chili straight up wings.
Oh, okay. We went to the other place then.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's hot, right? It's a nightmare.
It's a living nightmare.
Yeah. It's
like
I've
if
had
Freddy
ghost chili.
Krueger were food.
I've had ghost chili stuff a few times in my life, and it's tough. I've gotten through it. It's fun to do if other people are also going to do it, but it's not. It's too hot. It's not pleasurable anymore, right?
What shocks me is that's not even near the top of the scale anymore.
At some point, they're just artificially manipulating the scale or something. I just can't.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Right on, man.
Cheating to jump off the end. And the other thing that was part of that was, that was the dinner, and with it, he did a whiskey tasting, as he is a collector of whiskey. Whiskey spelled in all the different ways.
Oh, I was going to ask.
So it was actually a lot of scotch, and then also some bourbons and whiskeys. What people traditionally think of as bourbons and whiskeys.
All right.
So he had quite a bit of different types of scotch, along with a few different eyedroppers of water and stuff that you could put in them to make the kind of the flavors change that way.
Yeah, that's a thing that they suggest.
Yeah, I mean, it's Scotch is definitely an acquired taste, right? I don't know that I have fully acquired it, the taste for it, that is. But I enjoy a good number of bourbons and ryes, of which he had several, so I tried some of those. And the scotches that I did try, I could appreciate the fact that, hey, this tastes like this thing. You put this water in here, and boom, now it tastes like something else. And that's cool. I like that, It's a learning experience,
So do you know what a Venturi is?
That's a thing for aerating wine, right?
Yes. They make those for spirits as well.
Oh, interesting.
And I was given one as a present, and so we own it, and we tried it with scotch,
Mm-hmm.
and it basically does the same thing as putting in the drops of water.
Interesting. So you're saying aerating the glass, like just the alcohol itself, causes the change in taste?
Well, that was one of my observations. Like, we tried it 3 different ways, and it was, here's scotch with water, here's scotch with the aeration, and the two straight out of the bottles tasted the same. It was interesting. I don't know what causes it or what the deal is, but that was our layman's observation. But scotch tastings, whiskey tastings are fun.
Yeah, we had a really great time, and he has a fabulous collection of just stuff I had never heard of, places I have obviously never ever been to, and just the stuff that's off the beaten path. He did not collect the obvious ones that everyone has heard of. So it was fun to try some of the stuff that I had never heard of before too. So that was cool.
Sweet, man.
Yeah, I had a really good time.
All right. Well, should we do some rapid fire info for people?
Give them the info. All right.
Rapid fire, so that they don't feel like we're going to drag them into another 3-hour Hearthstone discussion.
Let's talk about Reno Jackson again.
Oh, I don't want to do it.
All right, Andrew, hit me with some quick info.
I'm going to summarize it like Blizzard would. They changed some cards.
That's true, they did.
Yeah, and that would be the extent of their patch notes usually.
Mm-hmm. They did at least tell you which cards were changed, although they didn't tell you in some ways how they were changed.
Right, correct. The Yogg-Saron change, one of the cards that they have changed, literally has no explanation on how it's changed. It seems worded exactly the same.
Yep, you have to go to their website and read a blog post that discusses how it was changed to figure out how it was changed.
Which tells you that there's A, something wrong with Yogg-Saron, and B, something wrong with their communication. But more that something's wrong with Yogg-Saron because he doesn't follow any order of operations at all.
I think that the change to him was reasonable.
I agree with you.
I don't think that it was needed.
Oh.
But I think that the way they did it was pretty much as good as you could have without making the card into just a pile of dust and a worthless legendary.
It's just interesting because in theory Yogg-Saron should not be able to affect himself at all.
Totally. And the way it was before, that was correct, right?
Nope. Not correct, because Yogg-Saron could still kill himself in the previous iteration of Yogg-Saron, which should not be doable since his effect is a battle cry, and battle cries happen before the card enters the board.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yep, that's true. Your understanding of the quote advanced rulebook that kind of exists out there is technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. However, Yogg-Saron appears to be an exception.
And just one more example of how they don't take things into effect or into consideration when they come up with an idea.
Yeah, the game is what people in software like to call spaghetti code, which means that it's all just sort of linked together however which way. It's not structured and not organized. That's, a probably unkind thing to say about their software artistry, but based on the way the interactions and how they'll make a patch that breaks something that they didn't even change in the patch, it seems relatively likely to be true.
We should do an investigation of Duelist, I think, because this is one of the things that they talk about with why people like that so much, is they take it very seriously, much like Magic would or other games would. This is how things interact every single time.
Yeah, I've heard some good stuff about that. I know they had a free thing Are they still free? Is that a free game? I don't know.
It's a free game technically.
Okay.
Not as
maybe.
generous as Hearthstone with what you get for free, but
Sure. Well, maybe that'll be something we'll check out. I would be willing to at least look into it.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on any of the major changes that you hate or don't hate? I think I like most of them. I think that the Rockbiter change might have been unnecessary, but
I'm okay with the Rockbiter change. Once they gave their sort of like explanation for why they decided that one needed to be changed, I kind of see it. I think I would have preferred they changed Doomhammer instead, but
sure.
I think Rockbiter's all right. It's a really good removal tool, right? Like if you think about it like this, Shaman has another card from the classic set that is 1 mana and does 3 damage, but has Overload 1. That card's Lightning Bolt. Well, Rockbiter is the same card, right? It's 1 mana. It gives you the ability to do 3 damage. It doesn't go through Taunt, I guess, but it has no Overload, and the only cost is taking some damage to your face, probably. That's a good trade, especially early in the game. And like, a 1 mana 3 damage spell essentially is probably too good for Shaman, I guess. I don't know. So I kind of understand the reasoning there. It kind of puts it closer in line with Frostbolt. The mage version obviously is better, but I kind of see it. It still allows you to do the same stuff that I really hate with Doomhammer. So I guess it doesn't make the card completely worthless.
It's interesting that, though, a lot of classes now are going to just start having the same exact cards, right? Like, oh, this is the same as that other one.
Yeah.
Blue instead of...
Well, sort of, a balance kind of would require you to make them, if not similar, like, at least, sort of orthogonal, right? Where it's like, it's the same, but it's in a different way kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't understand how you approach balance in these kind of things other than just playing 50 million games and deciding that something's okay.
I have been taking a kind of sabbatical from thinking and playing Hearthstone more than just my daily quests.
Mm-hmm.
I pushed really hard 2 months ago. I got to 5 and then slipped back to 8, and I thought I need a break. So I'm kind of just filling in my dailies in the last 2 months, and
I know that a number of people seemed pretty sad about the Call of the Wild change. It goes from 8 mana to 9 mana. Yeah, I think the card is still good. I think the card is still good at 9 mana.
Yeah, because you get 2 copies of it.
I was just playing my my Hunter deck in Wild, and I still ran 2 copies of Call of the Wild at 9 mana, and it seemed just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you'd cut one and run like Ragnaros or something instead, just to get the 7-8-9 curve or whatever. But
sure,
yeah, it seemed fine. So yeah, overall, I think the nerfs are good, or the changes were good, not necessarily just the nerfs.
That was the section for those of you that play Hearthstone. Obviously, explaining every single card, what they do, how they got changed. Maybe that's too much, I think.
Yeah, if we had opinions on all of them, yeah, maybe we could talk about it, but I don't really. It seems good.
Yeah, they seem good.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm still playing that game, right? So
yeah, like I said, I'm sabbaticaling enough that I don't think about the balance too much beyond. It's just do my dailies right now. I'll get back into it in a little bit, but
log in, have some fun.
But I'm liking having the little bit of a break because I can fit in a few more games and things, like finishing off my Civ game. Oh,
nice. So do you finally come to the glorious victory that you well deserved?
I forced things to a head, I took on the rest of the world. I took everybody's capitals from them. At a certain point I just started like targeting capitals and then making peace with that civilization immediately afterwards.
Man, so underhanded.
Yeah, well, I was running out of time. It was closely approaching 2050. Which is, for those of you that don't know, in Civilization, the end of the game is 2050 if nothing else has won the game by then.
So there should be an option at game creation to allow it to continue past then also.
Oh, you could continue, yeah, but that's the end of the scoring.
Oh, but like, you're not playing for the score, man.
Right. But like if you were doing it to try and like go through victory conditions more than just playing until you annihilate everyone.
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
That's the condition is like 2050, game over no matter what's happened. you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a pretty good time. You know, it came down to me and George Washington, and George Washington had to start nuking his own cities to get rid of my units.
Yikes. That's never
Yeah.
good.
No, you know, that's a problem. When
Yeah. Don't want to have to nuke your own people. I bet they don't like that.
No, I don't think his civilization was very happy with him.
So you went the military route. It sounded like you used the guns and the knives and the planes and the bombers and the nukes and whatnot.
Yeah, I didn't get past much further than like World War II technology, and then I just started flooding the board with things.
Mm-hmm. At some point, you have to sort of transition away from the researching of cool new technology and move into just the building of all that new technology, right?
Yeah, basically at a certain point, your units have to just get built and screw the rest of your stuff. Like build your economy, start buying units, start building units, and just
it becomes like a production line, right? You just have to sort of keep churning them out and sending them down the field.
Exactly. Yeah, make sure you have a constant stream, so as one unit dies, the next one steps into its place, sort of thing.
Right.
Yep.
Got your artillery units and whatnot.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I definitely got a Civ fix. It was enough for me to step away from it afterwards and just be like, okay, cool. I played literally a full game of Civ, almost all the way to 2050. I won. I went the route that I wanted to, and it all worked out. I think I can take a break. Maybe it'll tide me over until Civ 6 is affordable.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe not. But you've seen there's some new stuff coming out about Civ 6, actually, right?
Yeah, so there has been kind of I don't know if it was an embargo or whatever, but sort of the game is coming out in near the end of October, like the 21st or something like that. And they have kind of started unveiling more stuff. They've started to show some of the various leaders. They've started to show some of the new systems. There's gameplay videos out there that people can watch. So if you wanted to see other people play Civ 6, you could.
Now, unlike other big games like Total Warhammer or other games like that, why do you think they're not handing out copies for streamers to play so close to launch?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's not quite late enough for that. I mean, maybe we'll see some of that stuff like the week before the game gets out.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I know, I don't think there's no boxed copies of this game out there,
Mm-hmm.
The game doesn't go gold until they literally hit the button to upload it to Steam or whatever.
Okay.
Or whatever other services that are out there. I mean, they're probably working on it.
Okay,
fixing last minute stuff. Yeah. I imagine that my experience in software tells me that everything comes in hot, right? Like it's not done until the very second when you declare that it's done.
Yeah, I guess especially if you're not doing a boxed retail version, right? If you're doing a box version, you've got to have it all pretty much ready to go.
Sure. So you have to have a version that is good and playable and out there in order to get the discs pressed and made and all that stuff. And then as soon as you finish that, everyone's very happy for like about 5 minutes, and you get back to work on the giant day one patch.
Right, because you got to fix 95 bugs you already know you have.
Right, exactly. And so that's a little insight to the software development process. At least is how it relates to games. But the software for the games that's on that disc, I think these days in the days of internet connected consoles, basically every game has a giant patch that comes out the first day, right? You download a some size patch that it gets applied immediately, and your first day, you don't have any of the problems that they'd already fixed.
Right.
Because they've had 2 months or whatever worth of time to fix problems. That's why those patches exist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a interesting little trivia bit, but those patches are good. You probably want those things.
Now, about 3 months ago, 4 months ago maybe, you said that you did not like the look of that game because it looked like a mobile game. And I said, well, it's early. Maybe that's just the beta, build, the textures aren't maybe in yet, etc. Sounds like that's not the case. I was wrong, and that's the look of the game.
Yeah. But I think now that I have seen it in motion a little bit, it doesn't look as bad as the still photos made it appear.
The characters look pretty caricature-y.
Yes. So a lot of what I saw in the early still shots and stuff that I saw of the game were like, hey, here's this new leader. It's Teddy Roosevelt. Here's what he looks like. And he looks like a character out of Clash of Clans or something. And I looked at this and I was like, what is this nonsense? Like, this looks horrible. And you see a picture of the map, but the map in Civ looks super boring anyway, right? Like, if you just turn off all the information on it and just look at a pretty vista, it looks kind of weak. Yeah, I mean, it looks a little more cartoony, I guess, than the Civilization 5 aesthetic does. But it's coming around. And the thing that got me, at least with the leaders, I saw this person playing against Queen Victoria, who is the leader for the English civilization. Is the animation is really interesting. Like, they have a lot more expressiveness in their face because they're so cartoonish. You can make them do a lot more. They seem very. There's a lot of facial expressions and body language and stuff that comes across to you when they're communicating with you, the player, telling you about how they're going to invade or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. So that you think they can use them to express themselves better. Maybe it's a push towards making diplomacy more of a part of the game. Though one review I read said diplomacy is still and will always be the most disappointing aspect of Civ.
Yeah, I imagine that at some point that stuff is never going to be good in the way that people would like it to be, right?
Right.
Just because computers can't really, negotiate the way a human can. There's not, that capability doesn't work that way. But the stuff I know about how the leaders work is each leader has their kind of innate trait, and then a sub agenda, besides that normal agenda that gets changed every game. So each leader is not going to act exactly the same every time.
Right.
Which is good because in some cases in Civ, or as sort of you noticed, I'm sure in your game that the players are going to act exactly the same way. As soon as you see what civilization that is, you know what they're going to be doing.
Right.
And so it's nice to have a little bit of randomness in the AI's goals. Makes the game a little more challenging, at least to figure out exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently you can buddy up to them and find out through the diplomatic conversations or whatever, trade deals or whatever, figure out what their secondary goal is.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, It looks good. The new city tiles thing. So, as we described with this game a long time ago, you build on squares and you move on square. Well, they're hexagons, but you move, build, etc. along this map of hexagons. And in the past, your city took up a hexagon. Well, now they're expanding it so that cities take up that hexagon and the hexagons around them as they expand outward.
The thing
sounds like a mess, but it seems like everyone seems to like this new system based on what they've now been able to write about.
Yeah, the interesting thing, I think, so from watching the one video that I saw, is that they've taken a lot of the buildings that you used to build in your city and moved them into things you have to build on the squares around your city if you want to have those things.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, in this particular example, I saw someone built a holy site, which is one of the things you can build in one of your cities in the previous games, and it would provide your city with some kind of religious bonus that would help fund your religiosity, which is a thing. And in this game, you now have to build that holy site on one of the squares surrounding your city. Well, that means you then can't build there a farm which produces food for your people, or you can't build a factory to help build stuff, or you can't build a university to help teach, your people and increase your science. You built a holy site there to get the religion. So that's the only thing that can go there until you want to, destroy that and build something else. So you're now having to balance the fact that, well, I need food to provide for all these people that are living in my city, but I wanted to get this religion, and where am I going to put it? So that's like a very interesting trade-off you have to make now, whereas before you would just build everything in every city as long as you had the resources to make it, right?
Yeah, and it kind of goes to what you should have been doing in previous games, which is really focusing on what you want each city to do, right? Each one should feel
Right.
more unique than
You
the
should
others.
you should be specializing.
Right.
And so it'd be, okay, well, this city I'm going to make all about this one thing because it has, like there's mountains over here, and mountains make it good for mining, so I'm going to build a bunch of mines. Well, but also mountains are the only place you can build this science observatory, and because it has to be up on a mountain or something,
Right.
And so then you have to choose okay, do I want to make this a science place or do I want to make it a mining place? And that's kind of a trade-off you can make. So, and that kind of stuff is cool, and I'm super happy they're looking into ways to change the gameplay up. I also saw, or the person was commenting, that the game feels a lot more complete than Civilization 5 did at the base.
Right. Civ 5 needed one expansion to really feel like a complete game.
Right, and then the second expansion made it feel like a really great game.
Correct.
But the base game, while not bad, was just kind of like, eh.
I do remember feeling that when that game came out.
Right? It's like
the first time around, it was kind of like, well, I played this in Civ 2. What's the difference?
Okay, well, I'll build these pyramids and see what happens. It's like, oh, the pyramids are my best building for the entirety of the Civilization game. That sucks.
Yep.
It's stuff like that. But apparently that stuff is a lot more fleshed out. There was no spying or anything in Civilization 5 until an expansion pack. There was no religion in the base game. There is no like the tourism system that they added in the last one, which I think is a really great end game kind of thing, with dealing with culture. And all that stuff got added later. And when you play with all that stuff enabled, it really makes the game feel, a lot more complete in terms of what you're doing in the beginning, the middle, and the end. And it sounds like a lot of those systems are already present for stuff for you to do in Civ 6 the whole way through. So that's good news.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing more stuff about it. It got me a little bit intrigued to ask you what you thought of Beyond Earth, which is their civilization in space version of the game. Because a friend saw me playing Civ 5 and said, too bad that other one stunk so bad. And I thought, well, JJ played that. I didn't hear that from him, but just curious what you thought. They did do after Civ 5 and between Civ 5 and Civ 6, another game called Civ Beyond Earth, where you took your civilization to the stars and you settled on an alien planet and you had to sort of cohabitate or terraform this planet and build your civilization on whatever Alpha Centauri or whatever they said was this planet.
The joke leading up to that game, I don't know if it was a joke, but they were kind of making references to the fact that they were trying to do a modern version of Alpha Centauri, or Master of Orion, or one of those kind of, not Master of Orion really. It only takes place on one planet,
right?
But
Alpha Centauri,
like a modern version of Alpha Centauri, which is a game that a lot of people really like. And I don't think it lived up to the fact, as evidenced by the fact that I have played Civ 5 more recently than I have played Civ Beyond Earth. I think that game, when it came out, was kind of fun for a while, but like kind of it felt a lot like Civ 5 did when it released. In that you were like, okay, I see some stuff here, this is cool, you can kind of go down these paths, and then you kind of get towards the end game and you're just like, well, now I just need to wait 20 turns to get my thing online, there's really nothing for me to do here. End turn. Interesting
that it felt lighter than a game that it was clearly a bolt-on to, like it was Civ 5 all the way that was retooled.
Yeah, and I played probably like 3 full games of it just to sort of try out the different paths that they had. And it didn't stick with me. It didn't give me that same feeling of like, I want to do this more. Which you definitely get sometimes when you play Civ.
Oh, every time.
That like addiction to hit the next turn button,
Yes, absolutely.
It didn't give me that. And apparently they released an expansion for it called Rising Tide, which I did not ever buy because I didn't really feel like I wanted to play it anymore. So I don't really know how the quality of that thing is. I know it changed a bunch of stuff related to naval combat in that game, since the naval stuff was super useless last time I checked. It added apparently like floating island, like civs that could live literally on the water and extract minerals and stuff from the ocean. It's like you could build a city on the water because why not? It's space. You should be able to do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I never bought it, so it sounded like it helped. But I don't think that game got very popular. I know Civ 5 is still much, much, much more popular than that game.
That game was a tough sell to begin with anyway, so if they didn't nail it right out of the gate.
I think it was a cool idea, and I wish they would try again. But yeah, I like the idea of space colonization, and that stuff is fun. I think that those kind of space colonization games tend to work better when you also have multiple planets to colonize, and then they just become a universe colonization game and not a single planet.
Yeah.
Because if you want to go to space, you want to see the space stuff, right? You don't just want to see the one place in space you happen to land.
I can see that.
And if you've already gone far enough to say, "Hey, we're out in space, we're going to land on this planet," well, then why do 10 other people also have to land on this planet? Couldn't they just go find a different planet? Why do they got to hassle me?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That game had some serious issues, I think. It's cool if you really like space stuff, but I wasn't super happy with it.
Skip it.
Yeah. Play Civ 5 instead. Civ 5's way better.
Gotcha. Wrap it up with last piece of news.
Hit me.
Twitch Prime.
Yeah, man. That was a weird thing.
Oh, it is. So, rundown. What is Twitch?
So, Twitch is a website that was bought a while ago by Amazon. I don't know when that buyout happened.
2015 sometime.
Okay. Do you remember how much money they paid?
A lot.
It was a lot. I want to say it was a B, like $1 billion.
I think...
Or possibly more.
I think that is a number that sounds right to me.
So, we're talking a lot of money. It is, as far as I understand, the most popular site for streaming stuff, including people streaming video games and also weird stuff like poker and music creation and
painting classes.
Yeah, the Bob Ross was on there for a while, and just a bunch of live streaming essentially is run through there, mostly related to video games, but also some other stuff. And it is one of these sites where you can watch people do whatever, and basically everything on the website is live. And there's kind of a whole ecosystem has come up around this, right? You can subscribe to your favorite streamers, and they get a $5 fee or whatever per person that subscribes. And I assume the streamer gets some cut of that, or you can donate to people directly, or there's all kinds of a whole ecosystem around building communities, right?
And and entertainment personalities.
Right, exactly. It's like they're like YouTube people, where instead of being paid by YouTube, it's only live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although news today is they're going to start allowing uploading of pre-recorded videos as well.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. So they're literally going exactly after YouTube.
In a way, right? I mean, the audience is already there as a streaming video game audience, so what are people going to upload? They're not going to upload their Beyonce smash cut.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be gaming targeted, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting thing to see. But this Twitch Prime thing is... So since Amazon made that buy in 2015, it sounds like, there really hasn't been any word from Twitch's side of like how Amazon is going to be related to their website, right? It's just their website's been trucking along, doing its own stuff, implementing weird payment tip methods and all kinds of new technology or whatever on the back ends, but nothing really, directly, obviously Amazon related until this thing, where they called it Twitch Prime, and you connect your Amazon shopping account to your Twitch account on their website, and if you are a Amazon Prime member, you get to be a Twitch Prime member also, and they give you a bunch of stuff. The promise on their webpage lists like, you every month you will get free games or loot or things in games.
Digital stuff.
Digital stuff. You will also get the ability to subscribe to one channel for free per month. And you will get other random benefits as they decide. Like
now, that's the part that I wanted to talk about. This is the whole reason I wanted to talk about Twitch Prime. They're going to give you, let's say it's $4.99 to submit, so $5 to subscribe to a show.
That's correct.
They made everybody's shows ad-free if you're a Twitch Prime member.
Yeah, so that is one nice thing. If you are a Twitch Prime member, you don't have to watch any ads on anyone, as far as I know.
So they took away their own ad revenue. Okay, follow me here. Yeah. Amazon, you're paying Amazon $99 a year for Amazon Prime, which means you get Prime Music, Prime Movies, Prime TV, Prime Shipping, Prime Cloud Storage, Prime Kindle books,
and all that stuff. Yep.
Yeah. So now let's say you're a Twitch member. They take away all their ad revenue that you would have been giving them because they make it all ad free. And they give you $5 a month to give away to
your favorite
streamer of choice. $5 a month times 12 months is $60.
Yes. Now, Andrew, do you think that the streamer is getting all of those $5?
No, I don't.
They're not.
No, I don't. But that's $5 is going back into their ecosystem somewhere, right?
Yes.
So essentially, they're paying another part of their ecosystem with money from that you've already paid into their ecosystem.
So if you consider that, it's much more likely to be that Amazon sees it as we're giving away $3 a month to people who are making content for us.
Fine.
Per person, so it's not like $60. It's closer to, $40 or $30.
Okay, let's call it 30.
Sure.
So they're giving you back $30 to give to some people that make content.
Right. For them, because the people that aren't you subscribe to them, they get all of that money.
Now, for them makes sense if they were selling ads.
Andrew, I think there are a lot more people that are not Amazon Prime members than you think.
Okay. But how does I don't understand how this benefits them.
They get more people to sign up for Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay.
That's where they make the money.
And they just hope everyone doesn't use these subscriptions every month?
Yeah.
Well, people, go use your free subscription. You can sign up for a free trial of Prime, and you can use the free subscription. If you do it in the first month, they also give money to charity. And that's why another reason I wanted to talk about it is because...
Oh, I didn't know that part. That's great.
Yeah. So if you use your free subscription, they match the donation to... I can't remember the name of the charity right now, but it's money for charity. So take a look at it. I'm not telling people to pay for things. I'm not telling people to pay Amazon or become Prime members or whatever. That's your decision. But there's a free trial, and the free trial, if you use the thing if you use Twitch already, just go do it, because then you end up giving money to charity, and you don't have to pay anything.
Yeah, definitely recommend as soon as you sign up, though, to go in and go through the process of actually canceling it, though, because I know for sure that free trial will auto-renew itself on the second the 30th day elapse. It's going to charge you $99.
Sure. Yeah.
So be wary of that stuff, but because, they want you, it's free because they want you to get the taste,
Yeah,
but
that's why I said
Amazon Prime is a great service. I use it all the time. And I am super excited, Andrew, to watch the Grand Tour, which comes out in November on Amazon Video. So,
what is the Grand Tour?
The Grand Tour is the new show being made by the previous members of Top Gear.
You've told me this 3 times, and I keep forgetting that the name of their new show is the Grand Tour because it sounds like such a boring name. That or like some sort of Wes Anderson film.
No, it doesn't sound like a Wes Anderson film to me. But Andrew, did you know they were recently in California to film?
No.
They were.
Thanks for letting a brother know.
They wish they had let me know, bro. Don't worry. I just saw it on their Instagram and Twitter accounts after the fact, so don't feel bad. But yeah, they were in Apple Valley, I guess, filming what was the opening credit sequence and then a studio segment for their show.
Apple Valley is basically the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, all of their things are in the middle of nowhere. They do that on purpose.
So that they get to make a ton of noise.
Yeah, my guess is that's related.
Well,
yeah.
like I said, we both use Prime, but that's your own math. But I like making sure that people give money to charity, especially when it's other people's money.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, Amazon, I'm sure, is happy to get the tax deduction. And I'm sure that the charity will at least put it to good use. So get it done. And as a bonus, you can get that new Hearthstone hero portrait.
Oh, yeah. That's the free loot that they offered for
I
this
believe
month.
It's only for this month also.
Mm-hmm.
So people should get that if they
Sounds
want to
like
look like a night elf priest.
Because you're playing priest in that game. I hope.
Yeah. My understanding, though, is that her emotes are not so good if you want to be a bad-mannered person. So, I don't know. If that's the real tier of Hearthstone characters, she's lower on it.
Copy that. I think that we have to get into this, JJ, because I think
Okay.
we're wrong about something.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm wrong on the internet?
I finished Civ early in the week, and I told you what I was going to take up and try next.
Mm-hmm.
And you poo-pooed it pretty hard.
Yeah. I have opinions about that game.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, tell the people what you've been playing.
Well, dummy me decided to start Skyrim while I'm still in the middle of Bravely Default. So, that's problem number one.
Ain't got time for that stuff.
I know. But it's been sitting installed on my computer for a long time, and it's a game that I really, really wanted to play, and it's a series of games that I really, really love, and so I said, screw it. This is the next thing on the list, since I'm taking a sabbatical from deep Hearthstoning. I can do this, and I started it, and then you saw me playing it, and you said, I think you said, play a good game.
Yeah. So my opinions about...
Maybe I should do some back history on what Skyrim is and all that?
Sure. Go into it a little bit so people understand what's going on.
All right. Skyrim itself is part of a series of games called The Elder Scrolls.
Yep.
The Elder Scrolls started in maybe the early 90s.
When was Daggerfall?
Well, Daggerfall's the second one.
I know.
I think that's like 96.
Yeah, it's old.
Yeah.
I want to say like 92 or something was the first one.
92, yeah, was the first one. So
it's old.
They've had Elder Scrolls 1 Arena, Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind,
right?
Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
Yep.
Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. I did it.
I was amazed that you got all of those. I helped you with number 2 there. I bet you didn't know that one.
Ooh.
But
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you did. I don't know. I'm going to take credit for all 5 of them though.
You got it, dude. Hey. Can't take that away.
Morrowind came out on the Xbox.
The original Xbox, yes.
Yeah, original Xbox. And Oblivion came out on the Xbox 360.
The 360. It was a launch game for the 360.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a kerfuffle surrounding that because there was a DLC for it that was literally horse armor. People were not happy with this. Pay money to get armor for your horse.
Well, you don't have to pay money to get armor for your horse.
No,
no
you
one
don't.
said you had to do it.
No, it's not useful.
How can there be a kerfuffle over something you don't have to do?
Andrew, this is before people were accustomed to the idea of having to pay more than once for a console game.
Oh. Well, now the whole model is get them to pay basically twice.
Yes, it is.
If not more than twice.
Yes. So, that was a launch game for the last generation. And then...
So the Elder Scrolls in general, overall, is a series of role-playing games, aka you have a character and you go out on quests and you gain experience and you gain items and you get stronger and you follow through the storyline of the game until it reaches a conclusion.
But not just a role-playing game.
Oh no. So the Elder Scrolls games are famous, especially because of Morrowind beginning this trend of being extremely open world, almost sandboxy in a way.
Yeah.
Meaning that you can approach each character, situation, fight differently entirely. You role play the character more than anything, and you also don't have to do any of that. You could just walk around doing nothing. They're completely open world games in a true sense, I think.
Yeah, there's nothing in the game that prevents you from turning around and walking away from whatever is happening, or whatever your main goal is. There's nothing stopping you from literally turning around and walking the other direction until you reach a mountain that you can't climb.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the games all had that kind of aesthetic.
Yeah. You could, if you wanted to, murder everyone in the game.
Yep. In some cases, that would be really hard to do, but you could.
Yep. You could, if you wanted to, steal every single person's gold in the game, if you wanted to.
Or in some cases, every item off of every person in the game.
Yeah, exactly. You could do that.
And some of the later games allowed you to do stuff like fly and, run around at speeds that are so ludicrously fast that the game can barely keep up. And a bunch of really, really silly things
Sure.
once you get down to the end of it. But, Andrew, you're forgetting the most important part of the Elder Scrolls games, which I think is why so many people like them.
Well, so in each game they have a bunch of races of humans. They've got some sort of lizard people.
Oh, no. It's more basic than that, Andrew.
Cat people. Oh, go ahead.
The game is in the first-person perspective.
It doesn't have to be, though. You can scroll out to third person.
The game is in the first-person perspective.
It should be played, I think, in the first-person perspective.
Yeah. People that like that game will tell you that's what you should be doing.
I agree. Although, sometimes it's nice to scroll back and see what your character looks like a little bit.
Yeah, if you want to see how cool your armor is.
But these games are really important because they allowed people to create custom characters very early on in video games. They really pushed the PC's limit with Daggerfall and even Morrowind a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much with Oblivion or Skyrim, and we'll get to that way later.
The systems work in such a way that, in general, your character gets better at doing the things you do in the games. So as you swing with your sword, your character's ability to swing with a sword gets better.
But you don't get any better at swinging with gigantic warhammers or shooting bows and arrows.
Exactly. So it's not just attacking, it's using a sword of that type of sword, even in some cases. So if you want to swing with a long sword, you have to use one of those. Or if you want a claymore, you need to use one of those.
If you want to become good at using heavy armor, you need to use heavy armor. You can't just use light armor. If you want to use shields, you have to use your shield. You have to pull it out and block attacks with it.
Right. And if you want to use magic, you need to use the specific type of magic that you want to be good at. And all this stuff makes for a really fun way and a deep way, at least on the surface, to build your character.
Absolutely.
And so all the characters end up different because it's how you played it, right?
And
the role-playing aspect of it is very good.
Yeah, where you invested your points, when you leveled up, what you did with all that. In terms of designing your character and what weapons you used through the whole game, etc. Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim seem to be the leaders for, like, the banner leaders for the series. And story-wise, they've basically continued to build upon a very complex world, starting probably a little bit with Daggerfall, but mostly with Morrowind, of this, gigantic empire that has taken over most of the map, but not all of it. And the game Oblivion had some sort of huge world crisis and all that sort of stuff, and then entered Skyrim when you had kind of like this rebellious sector of the map where they didn't quite want to be part of the empire. They've continued a story that people are very, very, very much sucked into, given that plus the art, the role playing elements
Totally.
and the openness of it, and on the PC especially the mods that you can put into it, where you can add new quests to the game, you can change how the game looks entirely. You can.
I mean, the game is, to their credit at least, the Oblivion and Skyrim versions of the game have been very modifiable, and there's a huge community around that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And people have created entirely new games using the assets from those games.
Correct.
In some cases.
I delved into it and jumped in with both feet, and I am in, man. I haven't played Morrowind or Oblivion in years. Mm-hmm. Skyrim came out in 2011?
Yeah, it's not a new
game. But as is the case with my entire Steam library, almost none of them are new games, and I have over 300 of them, and I need to play them.
Yeah, or at least, know the ones that you should play.
Check some off the list. And I'm digging it, man. As a true first real playthrough where I've gotten about 30 hours into a role-playing game, which is, a good third of the way.
Good chunk of time.
Yeah. I'm loving it.
That's great.
I'm back in, although, I didn't love Morrowind the first time I played it, but it grows on you, and this continues that.
At least in my mind, some of the fun in playing these games is just seeing how ridiculously overpowered you can become.
Sure. Yeah. Can you sneak up directly in front of a dragon because your sneak is so good to its face and one-shot it before it wakes up?
Yep. In Morrowind, the abusability is so high that I believe it's possible to fly to the end of the game within the first hour of starting it. There's so many abusable systems and bugs, and not necessarily bugs, but crazily overpowered items that if you know exactly where they are, you can get them by stealing and all this kind of stuff. And just making these crazy overpowered characters is fun in a lot of cases.
Hey JJ, you want to prove we learned something?
Sure.
That we learned from people's inputs? Do you know who made these games?
It's Bethesda Softworks, right?
Bethesda. Remember, we couldn't pronounce it before.
I was close.
Yeah, Bethesda.
Yes.
All right, there you go, people. We didn't do research, but we did hear you and we learned.
There we go. Boom. Got good.
So I'm digging Skyrim. I modded the heck out of it so that it looks decent. More on that later.
The people that make Fallout.
Yes, same people that made Fallout.
Yep.
What's your beef with me starting up a game of Skyrim? Other than the fact that it is delaying me finishing Bravely Default.
I have no beef with you wanting to play a game of Skyrim. I personally have a beef with the combat mechanics in that game. They're bad.
Well, it's a hack and slash sort of deal.
That is generous. I think there are a lot of hack and slash games that are better than that. And man, the combat in this game, because it's generally occurring from a first-person perspective, involves you walking towards the enemy and hitting a button 99.95% of the time. Unless you're using bows or magic, and then you have to stand a little farther back and do some actual mouse stuff. But yeah, it's or you could play with a controller too, though. So I don't know, maybe it's you don't even need the mouse for that stuff. It's just really, really boring to fight things in that game.
But the fighting really isn't even that much of it.
Thankfully, because it's the worst part of the game.
But that ruins the whole thing for you?
This is the fifth one, and they didn't make the fighting better? It's been basically the same every time. You just walk into people and sword them. And you just keep doing it.
What would you rather they do?
The fighting is the same as the beginning as it is at the end. There's no, just my sword skill went up because I used it a bunch.
What would you rather they do? I mean, I've seen Dark Souls. It looks similar.
What?
I mean, in Dark Souls, you just walk up and attack people, right?
So, Dark Souls is a third-person game instead of a first-person game, so that makes a lot of difference.
You can play one in third person if you wanted to.
I have never seen someone choose to play those games in third person, so I guess maybe this is on me for choosing to always play them in the first person perspective that it defaults you to.
But
Maybe
what's
I
the
should have been
difference
trying to
other
zoom
than
out.
perspective? What's the difference other than perspective?
So in Dark Souls, when you make an attack, your character has an animation that it goes through, and if the animation for the weapon collides with the enemy, it counts as a hit. And in some cases, there's certain parts of the enemies you need to hit. There's tactical considerations to go on there. In Skyrim, as far as I've ever been able to tell, and I'm pretty sure this is true in Morrowind and Oblivion as well, you just stab them, man. Just hit that button, walk into them, make sure your sword is touching them. There's the animation that plays is completely irrelevant. As long as you're next to them, you're going to hit them. Woo! Keep chopping. And it's exactly the same at the beginning of the game as it is at the end. In Dark Souls, if I equip a different sword, the animation is going to be different. So I don't want to swing at the same times. Or if I use a heavy strike, it's going to move in a different way, but maybe do more damage. And it might be slower, or it might be quicker if I use a quick strike. There's like tactical considerations being made there. There's no tactical consideration in Skyrim whatsoever. You just press the button that you want to use to win.
Well, there's a power attack, and if you use a shield, you need to know when to put up your shield to block.
Yeah, that's good.
I guess I'm having a hard time coming up with a counter argument because I chose to do bows.
Okay. I mean, shooting someone with a bow is going to be the same now as it is at the end of the game also. Right? Like, there's no progression. You're just equipping a different bow.
Well, there is a little bit of progression, right? Like, when the game started, I couldn't zoom to aim.
Yeah. And did you unlock a skill or something that you have to use that allows you to zoom?
Uh-huh.
How did you do that? By using a bow a bunch?
By using a bow a bunch, I unlocked a part of the skill tree that then allows me to zoom.
Oh, that's good. That's forward progress.
And then once I did that, once I could zoom, I could then unlock skills that when I zoom, it slows down time by 50%.
While you're zoomed.
While zoomed, yeah.
At which point then you use the button to shoot the arrow.
Correct.
Okay. The game, the combat is, maybe this is on me. Maybe I should have been playing with bows this whole time. Maybe that would have made my experience better. That sounds a lot better than the Elder Scrolls that I played.
Yeah, maybe.
I did not have a good reaction when I started playing that game. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I didn't really like Oblivion that much either. I never got very far in that game for the same reason. And I uninstalled that one too.
A lot of my time with Morrowind was watching others play it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a boring game to watch other people's play.
I can believe that.
It would probably be equally as boring to watch somebody play Skyrim. Although maybe not. I don't know. Because it does look pretty dang good, and there's a lot more quests. Whereas...
So, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that.
Sure.
I've often heard this game criticized. I don't know much about the actual writing of the game, because like I said, I did not play very much of it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like an hour or something total. I don't know. We could check my stats, but I don't care to pull them up. I heard that the quest writing in that game is kind of rote. That's the word I will use. Do you feel that at all?
I mean, are you talking about like the quest design or the quest text, or like?
Sure. Okay. I guess we could start with the quest design. Are most of the quests kill 10 boars and come back to me?
Most of the quests are go find this area and retrieve an item from this area, and
then come back to the person.
Yeah.
And turn in the item for some kind of reward.
So far at the first, I'm only in the first town, right?
Totally. And the game is very long and has a darn ton amount of things to do.
Yeah, and a lot of the quests eventually are going to be like join the rebellion or join the Imperium. Okay, well, now that I'm part of the rebellion or the Imperium, I need to either attack or defend these towns, or
Mm-hmm.
It seems like there's a little bit more complicated questing coming, but maybe I could be wrong. I don't know.
Okay.
There's nothing out there that's like go kill 10 wolves and bring me their pelts so far,
Okay,
which was
that's
kind of nice. But it is a lot of like go kill all the bandits and kill their leader.
sure, sure. So that kind of this game has a procedurally generated quest design system.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to notice if it was obvious. As I did not get very far into it, I did not see much of it, but I know that that's a complaint that some people have about the game. There will be like quests that are more interesting and I don't want to use the word good, but there are more interesting quests that are obviously made by a person, and then there's these kind of all these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other quests that get generated by the game that are just kind of like go here and do some stuff, and then yay.
I would make the argument that the go here and do some stuff quests, and I might be wrong again because I'm not done with the game. You might not even need to do to
Oh,
finish
very
the game.
likely. Oh yeah, yeah. Almost certainly, you don't need to do
So
any
you
of
could
them.
only play the quote unquote good ones if that was your complaint. I don't know.
Sure, but how do I, as a person looking at who's just starting this game, know which is which?
There's not a ton of extra stuff at the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there's a few side quests in a town, so you make just enough money to get out of that first town and get to the next town.
Right.
And then, there's like some decent immediate need quests, and then you start to get a ton of other stuff. So I don't
And
know.
I know a lot of people just play this game by walking out into the wilderness and doing what they want, right? Because you can do that.
A huge number of people literally do only that. I'm going to
Yeah.
wander around today
And
and
just see
do
what I can
nothing
do.
but wandering. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that, that just doesn't, I don't know. The idea of exploring is cool, but the stuff that I do while exploring kind of sucks. That's how I feel about it.
I wouldn't fall in the exploratory camp probably either. I would explore while going somewhere to do a quest maybe, but
Mm-hmm. It's something about these games just doesn't work for me, man. I don't know what it is. And I own Skyrim. I have maybe played it for an hour. I just can't get into it. I don't know why. I know a lot of people love it. People have spent hundreds of hours playing that game. It's just not for me. I don't know why. And yet I love all kinds of other RPGs. Some of which are equally long as that game. So I have no. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it better than what I have said. So
yeah.
it's my piece on Skyrim.
I mean, my memories of Morrowind and Oblivion are from 2006 or whatever,
Yeah. And like I said, I have some fun memories playing Morrowind also, so I must have liked it at some level. Maybe it was just fun because I was cheating or something. I don't know.
But those are, a decade old now, so I'm kind of just rediscovering these games, even though they're pretty great.
Yeah, that's great, man. I hope you have a good time. And I'm interested to check in on the progress of your dragon dude guy. Is he a dragon dude, or is he a lizard guy, or a cat, or what?
I just picked a human dude.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Solid, boring.
Yeah. One of the Northmen.
From the north.
I just was curious because it seemed like you weren't into it. So thanks for the explanation.
I have opinions about stuff. These games are one of the things that I have an opinion about that runs counter to a lot of opinions.
I could see why people wouldn't be overall into it, but it's tough to understand it when. Maybe I liken it more to WoW. Like you and I have kind of seen the light on that game where it's literally just grind,
Mm-hmm.
and it could feel very similar to that if all you saw was the quest design.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something about I get into this game and I'm out there and I'm swinging my sword. Then I'm like, I'm just gonna be doing this for like 100 hours. Literally swinging a sword just like this. It's going to be exactly the same, but except maybe my sword will have a cool glow. Man, nah. Then I bounce. It's something like similar to that reaction I had to the Batman game the other week. I don't know what it is. I just not. I don't know. It didn't didn't get me the way it's got
Well,
everyone
think
else.
about it this way, though. Like, Final Fantasy games got to the point that they realized people were just going into the game. So, like, it was so repetitive that, like, in Bravely Default and some of the later Final Fantasies, you can just automate running around to level.
Yeah, that's true. They have like auto battle.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 12 and Bravely Default, you can just sort of, like, almost leave the console while your character levels itself with a set of predetermined commands.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just basically do the same thing, except for boss fights, you're basically doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't have a good explanation for why stuff is what it is. I just I know what I like, and those seem not to be it.
I almost forgot my complaint about Skyrim.
Oh,
And about Bethesda in general.
let's hear it.
Did you know that game is from 2011,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore modern PCs, can run it like a champ?
Yes, I did know that.
At like 140 frames per second and a couple hundred hertz,
Wow,
etc.
it's pretty cool.
It would be cool, JJ. It would be cool.
Oh, it's not cool?
It's not cool because they programmed into the engine figuring out where characters should be, when and how, as well as sounds, playing, etc., as 60 frames a second locked.
So if you play
Because,
above that, it causes the game to act weird?
yes, basically, if you play above the original release specs, which were, clamped into the game because it came out on consoles at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
You throw everything out of whack. There's corruptions everywhere. And so you have to find ways to force your computer to slow down.
I mean, you should just be able to turn on VSync and be good to go. I don't know why you...
Except that it doesn't quite work.
VSync doesn't work?
Again, I turned on VSync and it's still running above this frame rate.
What?
Yeah.
That's confusing. Is there perhaps a mod or something that you installed that is hacksawing it in some way?
I can't imagine how it would be.
I mean, it's possible, man. I know mods do things like that. It's one of the coolest things, actually, that modders have gone in and fixed some of these older games to perform better. But I would guess that is crazy, and the VSync should be locking it to whatever the refresh rate on your monitor is.
Yes, you're right. But my monitor
Andrew.
refresh rate is 144 hertz, JJ.
Well, now
that
is a problem for you.
Major problem.
Yes. Perhaps you would want to turn it down while you are playing Skyrim.
Yep. So you have to go in, and every time you want to play Skyrim, dumb your computer down.
Set it down to 60.
Yep.
Not that 60 frames per second is, like, bad or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty good amount of frames, man. You should be pretty happy with 60 frames a second.
Yeah, but I could have 144. Easy.
You could.
No problems.
True. Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you that, unfortunately, you must settle for only 60.
This is one of those examples that we were trying to give last week of how 4K gaming might help us out because we keep getting screwed by ports from consoles.
Or more likely, they would just not have anything in 4K and would make your 4K monitor display an upscaled 1080p image, which would make your eyes bleed.
I'm just saying, like, hopefully in the future we don't have this problem. Or maybe when they re-release Skyrim, they'll have fixed this.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll see how that goes. I am not interested in that.
I could have guessed. Anyway, how was your fantasy football week,
Man,
dude? I haven't checked in on the games yet, other than the fact that I pounced Michael by 60 points.
You did not just pounce him; you trounced him.
It's okay because my other league did not go so.
This appears to be the first week, barring some kind of major statistical corrections, that I have won all 3 of my leagues. Yeah, so
Wow.
I get my first win in the work league. I'm now 1-3, which will probably leave me in the basement. But
Sure.
I beat the third place team, so that's pretty good. It was just it was a good week for JJ's fantasy teams overall. I beat your wife, who had Aaron Rodgers on a bye week. So I'll take the W. I'm not going to complain. Obviously she was not running at full strength. But hey, them's the schedules. So that was how that went, which was fine with me. Like I said, my work league went pretty well. Yeah, I'm very happy with how it worked overall.
Well, I've been saying it all season, and I'll keep saying it. I'll take fantasy losses as long as the Broncos win, and the Broncos still won despite losing their starting quarterback.
I was going to ask your opinion about the new second starting quarterback for the Broncos, because I did not get to see that game.
Paxton Lynch did a serviceable job and led them to a touchdown.
Okay, nice.
Not against a great team.
Yeah, they weren't playing a team that was good.
At least he got a tune-up game.
Okay, nice.
JJ, I'd like to throw a stat at you.
I love
stats. Well, I want you to guess.
Okay, let's try it.
DeAndre Hopkins.
I think I know the answer to this stat.
Odell Beckham Jr.
Uh-huh.
And Mike Evans.
Okay.
Give me a point total for all three of those players combined that you would expect to see at the end of a fantasy football game.
Oh, that I would expect to see.
Well, a bad day for those three players.
Well, I unfortunately happen to know some of the point totals for some of those players, as I own them in other leagues.
Okay.
I can go ahead and tell you that DeAndre Hopkins got 0 points, basically. In that league, it's half PPR, so he got like 0.9, which is essentially 0. He got 1 pass.
In the league that I own all three of those players and started all three of those players, They combined for 8.6 points.
Hoo-hoo! How much of that was just Odell Beckham, though?
2.4.
Oh, okay. So it was mostly Mike Evans.
It was mostly Mike Evans.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's bad. It's real
bad.
It's pretty bad.
Fozzie Whitaker outscored all those three of those players.
Yeah, that's bad. That's real bad.
It just gets worse and worse in that keeper league, man. It just gets worse and worse. I don't even know where I went wrong. How do you go wrong with those three players?
Yeah, I don't know. They had bad weeks, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's a real bummer. But, a lot of people had bad weeks this week. The Patriots got shut out at home, which is maybe like the first time that's happened in a lot of years, probably. So, guys that you can usually count on for a good 10 points every darn week are like Julian Edelman, got like 2.
Mm-hmm. Despite going in at quarterback.
Oh, did he actually play at quarterback? I did not watch
at
that
least
game
one
either.
play. I don't know.
Guys who are usually extremely reliable have torn rotator cuffs, like Eric Decker.
Maybe on IR.
Potentially, yes, potentially. There's just
That's my fourth receiver in that league, by the way.
And there is a darn tootin'ly large number of injuries to every running back in the league. So, it's a real tough situation out there this week. And every week, really, when you think about it. And it's not going to get better because the bye weeks are here, Andrew.
They are here in force. Which
means that everyone's fantasy team on one week or another is going to be in shambles. So, I hope you and everyone else out there got their lineups in order and are prepared for the various bye weeks that are about to drop. So,
well, hopefully next week JJ is back to his losing ways so we can have a more miserable talk about fantasy football.
Yeah, I know everyone loves to hear me do bad, but I'm going to be 3-1, so I'm doing pretty good.
Nice. Oh, I almost forgot my complaint.
Is this a tie? Are we going to have a tie in this league? I did not look at the other matchups, Andrew. I think there might be a tie.
We are going to have a tie. Yep.
Holy smokes.
Week 4 tie.
Dang it. Ties ruin everything.
They do. They totally do.
Sean played a guy on bye? Really, Sean? You could have started one... Oh, rage.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about that as commissioner if people start people that are injured or on bye.
Man. All right, well,
I feel like we need to sanction people or something if they do that.
We'll have to give him a stern talking to.
Yeah. Should we get out of here? We dragged people through so much this episode.
Yeah.
The highs and lows.
The highs and the lows, for sure. But Andrew, if people wanted to reach us for some reason, God knows why they would want to do that. But if they did...
If you would like to prove to JJ why he's disinterested in Skyrim, you should email us at podcast@weweregamers.com. If you'd like to agree with JJ that Skyrim sucks, you can follow us on Instagram and be quiet at weweregamers.
Yeah, that's what you could do.
And if you have any comments about what I should be doing quest line wise, you should follow us on Twitter at weweregamers.
The Dark Brotherhood. Tell him that.
Yeah,
you people, tell him that.
I already tried to get. They tried to assassinate me once already.
Oh, nice.
I don't even know why.
Probably because you're a jerk. Have you been stealing, Andrew?
What, the Dark Brotherhood kills people for stealing? I didn't steal anything. I stole some dude's horse because he tried to kill me.
I just remember people saying that quest line is cool. That's all I know.
Oh, okay. Cool. I'll do that eventually.
Sweet. All right, well.
More Skyrim?
More Skyrim. All right, Andrew. Well, I'll let you get back to your world of fantasy make-believe, and I'll go lose some Hearthstone games.
Sometimes you just need to escape.
Yeah. Hey, it's good, man. Glad you're having a good time. That's what I'm happy about.
All right.
Praise Yogg.